You're watching The Times of India and I'm Neha Khanna. It's the movement that generated unprecedented momentum for Donald Trump and catapulted him to power in his second term as US President. But now, Make America Great Again, or MAGA, for the very first time is in real danger of unraveling. Why? Because all hell seems to have broken loose in the United States over the Epstein files. Today, let's talk about the great MAGA divide that threatens to not only split the movement that got Trump re-elected to the White House, but also presents, possibly, the greatest political challenge to the Trump presidency. Last week, the Trump administration released a memo on the Jeffrey Epstein case. Epstein was the convicted sex offender and pedophile who died in a New York prison in 2019. The US Justice Department and the FBI jointly released the much-awaited memo, which came to the conclusion that there was no evidence that Epstein had a list of powerful men who participated in his alleged underworld of sex trafficking and pedophilia. It also stated that the disgraced former financier died by suicide and was not murdered in his prison cell. So why is this memo a problem? Well, for starters, it seems to have set two critical departments in the Trump administration, the FBI and the Justice Department, on a collision course. What's worse for Trump is that scores of his MAGA supporters, his primary vote base, seem to have turned on their favorite president in the aftermath of the Epstein file saga. Some are even saying now it's Donald Trump versus MAGA. What's important to know is this: the Epstein memo that has set off a political storm totally contradicts the conspiracy theories that were peddled by Trump himself and his top aides in the run-up to the 2024 US presidential election. What's more, Trump had promised to make the Epstein files public if re-elected. And now, with Trump appearing reluctant to make good on that promise, his MAGA movement and some of his most loyal supporters are revolting against the president. Many are calling it a brazen cover-up and an outright betrayal by Trump, who had promised transparency. MAGA figures believe there definitely exists an Epstein client list comprising some very powerful men who are now being shielded by the Trump administration. The memo says there is no client list. Trump is stoutly defending these findings, and his Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's in the line of fire. In fact, there has been an avalanche of calls within MAGA for Bondi's resignation over her handling of this entire affair. Remember, Bondi had earlier claimed, "There is a client list sitting on my desk to be reviewed." Now, in a massive U-turn, she says, "There is no client list. I meant something else."
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that.
The infighting between the Justice Department and the FBI has been intensifying. At an explosive meeting last week, reports suggest FBI Director Kash Patel and his deputy, Dan Bongino, were confronted about whether they were behind a story which said that the FBI wanted more information on Epstein released, but was ultimately stymied by the Department of Justice headed by Attorney General Pam Bondi. After that meeting, Bongino is believed to have told some people that he was considering resigning. He didn't even come to work on Friday. Nobody seems to know for sure if Bongino is still the deputy FBI director. His boss, meanwhile, Kash Patel, posted on social media that he would continue to serve in the Trump administration. He added, "The conspiracy theories just aren't true, never have been." Never mind the fact that both Kash Patel and his boss Donald Trump have generously fueled the Epstein conspiracy theories in the not-too-distant past. Back then, it made for good electoral politics. Now, it's a political inconvenience, even a potential threat. Let's not forget, there are many who have alleged that none other than the US president himself is on the Epstein client list. Even Trump's former best friend, Tesla CEO Elon Musk, said so before deleting that controversial post on X. Of course, this came after the two fell out recently. As we said, Attorney General Pamela Bondi, who had repeatedly promised to release Epstein documents, has borne the maximum brunt of the MAGA frustration, with many calling for her resignation. But Trump has made it clear that so far he is sticking with her. Over the weekend, Trump invited Bondi to join him at the FIFA Club World Cup final in New Jersey, where she watched the game from the president's box and Trump flashed her a thumbs up. He also took to his social media platform, The Truth Social, saying, and I quote, "What's going on with my boys and in some cases gals? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job. We're on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein." Trump also fell back on a familiar playbook, blaming Democrats. He said, "Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files? If there was anything in these that could have hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it?" Trump now says Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton created the Epstein files. Trump also claims Epstein is somebody that nobody cares about. But guess what? Within moments of Trump posting this on social media, he got ratioed like never before. There were far more negative, even scathing comments on his post than likes, mostly from staunch Trump supporters expressing their grave disappointment over the Epstein investigation and demanding that the files be made public and the guilty be brought to justice. Clearly, Trump's attempts to pacify his MAGA support base are failing spectacularly. If you need further evidence of that, just look at what happened at the Turning Point USA Student Action Summit in Florida, an event aimed at mobilizing young conservatives. Some of Trump's most vocal supporters, including journalists and political commentators Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, took turns to cry blue murder over the Epstein files, making no bones about the fact that they believe the Trump administration is hushing up serious crimes and protecting powerful sex offenders and rapists. And they are demanding Pam Bondi's scalp, calling her the villain in this story. So are we looking at an unprecedented loyalty test, as CNN calls it, between President Trump and MAGA, the movement he created? Is this a sign that Trump is losing significant support? Are hardcore MAGA figures going to feel compelled to choose between Trump and the movement who were thus far synonymous with each other? Is this the beginning of the unraveling of MAGA? Or is it in fact a glimpse of how the MAGA movement may transition into a post-Trump era? The biggest question of them all is this: is President Trump facing the biggest political nightmare of his career? And just how is he going to clean up this mess?